The Houston Rockets may not be out of the NBA playoffs yet. They're down 3-1 currently to the Golden State Warriors, but the rumors are already swirling that they're about to go star hunting this summer with three really, really big names on their list, including Kevin Durant, Zion Williamson, and yes, Giannis Antetokounmpo. We're going to take a look at the situation and if the Rockets can actually get it done. I'm Trevor Lane. This is the Basketball Bulletin. Make sure you subscribe right now. About 70% of you watching this are not subscribed to the channel. Fix that. Hit the subscribe button. Joining me is Donnie Freeman. Donnie, how you doing? Donnie, do you think the Rockets can win tonight against the Warriors?
Yeah, tonight. Yeah, for sure. I don't think they're going to do a 3-1 comeback, but tonight for sure. Yeah.
Tonight, I think they've got a shot. But this came out at ESPN today. The Rockets brass are aligned in the ambition to allow this young group to go together, but it's anticipated there will be internal discussions at a minimum regarding potential star pursuits. So we've been hearing for a while now that the Rockets, no, we're not going to trade our young guys. We're not going to trade our young guys. There's a little thing that came out today as well from this article that Amen Thompson's going to be untouchable for them. But does Kevin Durant make sense for the Rockets? What about Giannis? What about Zion Williamson? They also mentioned Ja Morant if he ends up as a trade possibility. Raphael Stone said it's a very high bar to do a transaction that changes things. But when I've looked at this Rockets offense, Donnie, in the playoffs, to me, they are screaming for a player that can create his own shot in the half court.
Yeah, I think that would be what they need most out of this. And some of that's just that Jalen Green has been pretty bad. I mean, he had one good game, and then all the other games he's been struggling here. But, I think that's part of it is that he hasn't really been that. And I don't know if he can't develop into that. The tricky thing with the Rockets is that I still feel like, and I felt this way the whole time, that they're a little bit ahead of schedule. So with that being the case, I mean, are they a Kevin Durant away from winning a championship? Probably not a 36 or so year old Kevin Durant. Obviously, if he was younger, that would be a different case. Sure. But maybe somebody more on their timeline would fit better. But they do need more offense for sure. That is the biggest thing here, and more shot creation. Again, maybe Jalen can learn to be more consistent. But for now, he's really been somebody that they were hoping to get more out of.
Well, I'll tell you the one thing that he's been consistent at, it's being inconsistent. He is consistently inconsistent, Jalen Green is. So he can shoot you into games. He can shoot you out of games. The lights are a little bright for him right now. And there is, I think there's a semblance here of the Rockets don't have to do anything.
No,
but the way watching this team has been painful. It has been very obvious that they need some type of firepower added to their offense. And given how, as you said, they're ahead of the timeline here, ahead of schedule, I do wonder if there's enough pressure on them, enough of a feeling that, hey, we've got something here. We can make a real run. We just need one more piece. If that is the prevalent thought in Houston, they could very well wind up making this big move. So let's take a look at what they can actually do out there on the market, what kind of trades they can make. We'll get to that right after this. The NBA playoffs are right around the corner, and there's nothing like seeing a playoff game in person. That's why I'm thrilled to have SeatGeek as the sponsor of this video. With over 28 million downloads, SeatGeek is the #1 rated ticketing app. There are over 70,000 events listed on SeatGeek, including concerts, sports, festivals, and more. Right now, you can get tickets to the MLB season, and the NBA playoffs are right around the corner. I love going to live events using SeatGeek. For me, it's about the value. SeatGeek has your back. Each ticket is rated on a scale of 1 to 10, so you know you're getting a good deal. So you look for the green dots. Green means good, red means bad. Plus, every ticket is backed by their buyer guarantee. I love that. Takes all of the worry out of buying tickets. And I came through for you guys. Use our code Bulletin10 for 10% off your next set of tickets at SeatGeek. That's 10% off any tickets with promo code Bulletin10. Make sure you click the link in the description to download the app and have the code automatically added to your account so you can use it later. Again, big shout out to SeatGeek. Super thrilled to have them on as a sponsor for the Basketball Bulletin. All right, and do make sure you check out SeatGeek. Plan B for the Rockets will be to cash in some assets. Plan A is for organic internal growth to get them where they want to go, but they could cash in some assets, and they do have a number of assets to potentially turn to. By the way, I just took a look here. The Rockets, they are 13th in the NBA playoffs out of 16
I
teams.
just was looking at that too.
Yeah, in offensive rating.
Right.
And every team below them has already gone home. Every team just below that's the teams that they're in the company with right now. Clearly, the offense is holding them back defensively.
Cavs, my God. Go back to offense. Look at the Cavs. My goodness.
Woo! Well, it helps when you win a game by what was it, 50, something like that.
Jeez, that's what it is.
That's
My
gonna help
goodness.
when you do that. But again, the Rockets. I mean, you can see how far they could go if they could land a piece. So let's take a look at this. What can the Rockets do? Well, first and foremost, I think they've got guys that would be in demand. Now, are they going to get Giannis for them? I don't know, but look, Reed Shepherd is a guy they like a lot that they weren't able to really utilize a ton this year, but he would have plenty of value around the NBA. Jalen Green will have some value. Interesting contract with Jalen Green, but he'll have some value. You've got Jabari Smith Jr. He's got value as well. Maybe he hasn't turned into quite the player they hoped he would be. And of course, I do wonder, could their resolve to not trade Amin Thompson be tested by, say, Giannis becoming, like, I get saying I don't want to give this guy up for 37-year-old Kevin Durant. What about a 30-year-old Giannis? At that point, I would have to imagine the Rockets would go, well, okay, we'll listen.
Yeah, I think they would have to absolutely, go for it. I don't really know if there's anybody on this roster that should be off the table aside from Sengun. That's largely it. But when I look at this roster, I mean, like I said, I think they're out of schedule. And I think there's a few guys that I do like as part of a core for this team, but with more of a long-term outlook. And then the reality is also in some of these guys, they're going to have to start making extension decisions too, like a Jabari.
Yeah.
Thompson's like a year removed from that. Like they're not a couple years from now, they're going to have to pay some of these guys. And I do wonder if they want to lock themselves into this core the way it's currently constructed. So they, like I said, I do think they probably will be best off maybe trying to find somebody on a similar timeline. But I wonder how much of this for the Rockets is just maybe you can hope for more internal growth, because a lot of your guys on this team are about the same age overall. And then the one wild card really is Fred. There's a chance that Fred is a big swing piece in a deal if you were to try to go out and get a big name guy like a Zion or something like that, assuming you can make the numbers work, because Fred's got that expiring deal of like $45 million. And quite frankly, he's playing 40 minutes a night and he's giving them 15 and 5 on terrible percentages. I mean, he's not been great in this postseason for them. And I do think they could just use more. But I do wonder, like I said, how much of it is just, if you're the Rockets, stay the course, right?
Well, I think stay the course is one thing. It's how much do you buy that Reed Shepherd, Jabari Smith, and Jalen Green are going to become the offensive forces that you need? Because defensively, this team's great.
Yeah.
How much do you buy that those three guys, at least one of them, is going to truly pop and be a 20-plus point per game every night scorer in this league? Again, Jalen Green's only 20.
Was on the season, though. He was like 21, I believe, on the season.
But I mean, more consistent, because he's cost them so many games where he has these off nights. He's so wildly inconsistent. So who is it that's going to hit the next level? And if you don't think that any of the three of them are, that's where you start to say, okay, maybe we go add some offensive talent. And of course, if it's a Giannis, if it's Zion, could this be a team that takes a gamble on Zion Williamson and says, we've got so much young talent that we could part with Fred VanVleet. We could find another point guard to come in. We could use that contract and we can go get Zion Williamson, give up some draft capital or something like that, and he can be our star of the future. If it's Giannis, there you go, right? I mean, Giannis is still in his prime. Giannis would take this team to another level. I'll tell you what, I don't know about Ja Morant.
That was going to be my question. I don't know about, like, it
or
sounds,
Zion, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say it sounds good, but when you start saying like consistency, this and that, right, I don't know if the guys that we're really talking about are that, for various reasons, whether it's health or otherwise. Like, I don't know. I need to see it first. Like, can Zion be that guy? I absolutely believe so. But like, I need to see him do it.
Will he?
Ja, like, I think Ja can be that too. But like, I need to see him do it now at this point, because if he could do it right now, then we have the same conversation about Memphis. They're in a similar spot.
Yeah.
Like, they need to find somebody that could be their number one guy to help this team and help them get over the edge. They're a little bit ahead on the timeline because they've already paid their guys, but they're in a similar spot where they've got a similar core. And so I do think that Memphis should try to retain Ja. We talked about that. If he's going to be that guy for them, we saw that he was 29, 30 points per game. That's why I keep asking, is it best to just stay the course? Because yeah, it sounds good to say you're going to get Giannis or somebody like that, but it's highly unlikely. And so if you're not going to get somebody like that and you can't depend on the other options out there, then do you really want to sell on one of these guys while they're still young before they could potentially pop?
Now, what if you don't have to sell one of the young guys? And this is what I'm talking about specifically. What if that's where you say, you know what, while these guys are developing, let's go win right now and let's go get Kevin Durant. He's 37. Let's say, and I know the Suns will want a lot, but let's say you could get Kevin Durant for Fred VanVleet, who's 30 years old. You stack up one other contract and you go get, and let's say it's Jock Landale or something like that. And then you go get Kevin Durant and you throw in one of Phoenix's future pick, because you've got future picks. That's going to be valuable from the Suns. You could even give them their pick back this year, which right now would project to be 9th, and we'll take a look at that in just a second. What if you could do that, and then you don't have to touch your young core? You're ready to win right now because you've got KD to handle your half-court offense when everything's bogged down, and you still allow Jalen Green, Reed Shepherd, these guys to kind of continue to grow and develop to where when KD is tailing off, okay, these guys are ready to really just take the reins and run with it.
Yeah, I kind of poo-pooed that idea initially because he's just so much older than them.
Sure.
But
imagine how KD would feel, right? Like hanging out in that locker room. they would have to bring back the 57-year-old Jeff Green at that point, just so Kevin Durant would have somebody to talk to.
Yeah, that's the way I think LeBron kind of felt for a while there, where like he's the old guy, and then like nobody on the team is even close to him in age, and then they get Markieff, and it's like finally I have somebody to talk to. But after the trade, of course. But yeah, with KD over there, I think that could work. I think that sounds good. And I think that's a unique position for KD to be into, because he can be somebody that's got solid defensive pieces around him and athletes around him, dependable players around him that he can, kind of take a night off on that side if he needs to and just worry about scoring 30 for you. And I think in a system like that, KD can also show that he's still got it on the defensive side to a high degree. I've seen him in several games this season where he was absolutely game-changing on the defensive side, but this team the Suns team was just bad. So like it didn't really matter. So I think KD on a team like that with more depth, long story short, would fit pretty good. And I didn't really like it, like I said, because the timeline piece of it. Sure. But I mean, you're going to, if it's Fred specifically, I can't see a reason not to do that. Like, I can't.
Yeah. And here's the thing, right? Like, I know, look, the Houston Rockets, you can see it right here. They've got multiple Suns picks in the future. They're shorting the future of the Phoenix Suns. That's the gamble that they've made in that trade with the Nets last year that eventually led to a Mikal Bridges trade from the Nets to the Knicks. But they're shorting the future of the Suns, with the idea being that at some point the Suns are finally going to give in and they're going to trade Devin Booker. But if that's a year from now, 2 years from now, okay, Booker's 30. Maybe your guys are ready to go, but how many of your young guys are going to have to give up in order to get Booker and all that? I think Kevin Durant, if he says, I want to be a Houston Rocket, and remember, he's got some power in this situation because he's going to be a free agent summer after this coming one, that he could very well help steer his destination and diminish his trade value. Maybe a Fred VanVleet, an expiring contract and a draft pick is all it's going to take. And if you're the Suns and you say we get a draft pick plus we get an expiring contract and Fred VanVleet, maybe there's some way that we can figure out a way to ship a guy to another team. We can get some cap savings, drop below the second tier apron, get that type of value out of it. And you can say we got a very tough defensive guard to put next to Devin Booker, and off we go there. Again, I'm not saying that's the Phoenix Suns are going to be jumping for joy with that kind of offer, but I think there's a chance to maybe add a piece like KD without having to give up everything like you would have to if you do decide to go for Devin Booker a year from now, 2 years, whenever the Suns finally relent and decide that we will move on from him. But Donnie, I want to present a third option here, because option one is they keep things as is. Option two is you go try to trade for somebody, whether it's Ja, Zion, KD, Giannis, whoever. What about the lottery? Right now, the Houston Rockets have, via the Phoenix Suns, because the Suns had a terrible, no good, very bad season, they have a 17% chance at landing in the top 4. They have a 3.8% chance at getting the number 1 overall pick. They've got, almost a 1 in 5 shot at getting a top 4 pick in this year's draft. Is it possible they just land somebody in the draft and say, this is our guy that's going to take us to the next level?
That's ridiculous.
Isn't that crazy?
It's possible, but like that's ridiculous. If they pull that off, then the entire conversation changes, right? Like that. So, I guess it remains to be seen if they'll do it. But hey, if they can pull that off, then obviously we're going for that, right?
Let me ask you this: if they got number 1 overall, did they just take Cooper Flag, or do they go to Milwaukee?
Ooh.
And they say, we will give you Fred VanVleet, we'll give you Jock Landale, whatever, we'll make the money work, and Cooper Flag for Giannis. Do you do that?
You do that? I was asking, do you do that if you're Milwaukee? Do you do that?
If I'm Milwaukee and I think I reset my timeline and I get the number 1 pick in this draft, I get the guy now on a rookie scale contract for the next 5 years, that would be pretty interesting. Now, What does that mean for Dame? What does that mean? You're starting a rebuild at that point in Milwaukee, and that's certainly a challenge. But you're getting the guy. That would be interesting. I would have to imagine that would be if Milwaukee starts listing, it says, bring me all your offers. I think that would be a very, very competitive one.
Yeah. If Houston got the number 1 pick, I feel pretty confident that they would try to do that. But by the way, I do wonder how many teams with the number 1 pick try to do that also. Like it could be a handful of teams that do that.
Okay, like here, look, I just simmed the lottery. Washington got the number 1 pick. They won't do that.
No, they're not them. Portland it would have to be a team like, say, New Orleans or Philly, of course, or some of these teams.
Philly, sure. Philly, yeah, right. Philly, because they're trying to win. Any of these teams that are like Utah would not do it.
But not those ones.
But if Dallas gets it,
that would be, I think if Dallas gets it, that's a no-brainer right there.
Dallas would definitely do it. Philly would do it. I think the Rockets should do it.
Yeah, the thing about it is that Giannis is going to have his pick of the litter, though. He's going to be the one that says they're not going to trade him anywhere unless he signs off on it.
Did you see the spin I just did?
What? Sacramento
got it.
Ironically, I don't think they'd do it. I don't think they'd do it.
Whatever the wrong decision for Sacramento would be, that's what they would do.
Stop. Yeah, I don't. I think what it comes down to is, does Giannis want to go out? Because even if it's the number 1 pick, I don't think Milwaukee will just send him like wherever.
No, you're right. They would send him. They would do him a solid, and they would send him someplace he actually wants to go, and someplace he feels like he can contend. And if Houston were to get the number 1 pick, there it is. There it is.
Oh, they
right
did.
there.
That's hilarious.
It took 3 tries, and I got Houston the number 1 pick. If that happens, if I'm Giannis, and I go, wait, you're telling me I can go play with on this team with Sengun and Jalen Green and Jabari Smith and Amen Thompson, and we're going to have all this length and athleticism. Then you're adding me to that group, and we'll have future assets to go spend from here. I'm signing off on that if I'm Giannis.
Yeah. And some of that also is like family. Do they want to go there? All that stuff. I'm sure that's a consideration too. But if I'm Giannis, then I wouldn't be opposed to that. You know, the funny thing about the Giannis discourse is that it almost feels like it's for a foregone conclusion right now that he's leaving. Do you feel that way? Like it feels like everyone's talking about it like it's a for sure thing.
I do, because it's very clear now, especially with Dame's injury. He has to make a choice. He has 2 options. He can stay in Milwaukee or contend for a championship. He can't do both.
Yeah.
And so I think contend for a championship is going to win out.
At what, 30? He's 30, right? That's that's the age where it's like, okay, enough of this. I'm going to go get a championship. Right. It seems like for guys, like they're like 30, 31, they can't do it anymore.
Right.
So yeah, it's just really, like, on a side note, really funny because all I'm seeing is that Giannis played his last game in Milwaukee, this and that. Like everyone is like, for sure he's leaving. But yeah, Houston should do that, I think. And I think that Giannis is just young enough to fit into what they're going to try to do. Because you can
sense.
have him as part of your core for at least the next 5-6 years.
Yep.
I think. And you're going to make several deep runs with that team. Like, I don't know if we talk about Giannis enough for how good he is. I did a solo video like a week ago, and I talked about the Bucks, and I was like, man, it was the Dame video. I was like, man, holy crap, Giannis is so good statistically. Like, that dude is like, he's like 32, 12, and 6. And I'm just like, Jesus. Like, it says nothing about like his actual impact out there, of course. But like, Giannis is ridiculous.
He's crazy.
And I think the big testament to Giannis also, just how good he is that everyone's been telling him his whole career he needs to play a certain way, and he still plays the same way, and he's still as effective. Like, it doesn't matter. So no one's been able to stop him. So I say this, by the way, as he's gone out like 3 years in a row in the first round, but that's not his fault.
That was not his fault.
No,
that was not his fault.
Not his fault. But yeah, they should do it.
I think there's some interesting paths there for the Rockets. Again, they're going to meet whenever it may end tonight. Whenever their season ends, they're going to meet, and they've got some decisions to make on what they're going to do. I think if I'm a Houston Rockets fan right now, I'm really excited, even though it might be frustrated with how the series has gone. But I think they have some very intriguing options, and I think the draft lottery coming up in just over a week here could significantly shift things. And even if it doesn't, you've got some possibilities here to push your team to the next level next season. But that said, everybody let us know your thoughts. What should the Rockets do? Stay the course or go get a star level player, or at least attempt to? What should they do? Do they try to jumpstart this thing and get themselves firmly into contention by adding a star now? Or should they trust in the development of these young players? And oh my God, Donnie, all hell breaks loose if they wind up doing what I did on that spin there and win the draft lottery. Everybody give me your thoughts in the comments. There's a chance. Yeah, you're telling me there's a chance. Let us know your thoughts, everybody. Go check out our video from earlier today on Giannis and his argument, let's say, with Tyrese Halliburton's dad. What a mess. What a mess. Go check that out right now.